And thank you to you and the ranking member and your staffs for such a great job getting this farm bill across the finish line. It's hard to believe it's almost 2 years ago now that we started hearings on this. It seems like yesterday, but it's a great accomplishment. And Secretary Perdue, thank you to you and your staff for your expert technical assistance and guidance that USDA provided to me, to my staff, and to the members of this committee as we were writing that bill. Mr. Secretary, I would say that the producers in South Dakota are primarily concerned about two things. One is implementation of ARC and PLC, and the other is CRP sign-up. Most producers were enrolled in ARC under the 2014 Farm Bill. That's likely to change. Most are probably going to be likely to be in PLC for most crops. And you testified yesterday that you expect to have the regulations, procedures, and software ready for farmers to enroll in ARC and PLC by September the 1st. Really important for producers is this question, and that is, do you expect to have worksheets and calculation models in place before September 1st so they and their lenders can have some certainty going into the 2019 crop year?
I would hope so, Senator. I'm looking for my notes here about the timeline on that, but if we are expecting that sign-up period, I'm hoping that we can get them information upon which to make a decision. Obviously, that's iterative, and it's, you know, like building the airplane while you're flying it to get that out there. So I know in the previous 14 Farm Bill, there was a lot of discussion over ARC and PLC and how to make choices. I think you're absolutely right that we'll see probably more PLC this time based on where prices are. And I think the flexibility you all gave them on the annual choices will also be helpful.
Good. Well, and I would say, particularly as they're trying to get their lenders to work with them, if you know, the worksheets and the calculation models that are used, they take them to the banks, the borrowers, to get those operating loans, really critical. So I would just encourage you and really emphasize the importance of getting that part of the you know, the regulation procedure process out there as early as possible. Yesterday during the House Ag Committee hearing, Chairman Peterson asked you questions about the CRP sign-up, and you mentioned later this summer and December 1 as possible dates for CRP sign-ups. My concern is that as of last October, and CRP enrollment was at about 22.5 million acres, about 1.5 million below the acreage cap, with another 1.6 million additional acres expiring September 30 of this year. Because acres accepted into CRP usually are not actually enrolled until the following October 1, I'm very concerned that unless general CRP and continuous CRP signups are held no later than summer of this year, we're going to lose potential to have more than 2 million acres that, if not enrolled in CRP and taken out of production, cropped in 2020 and adding to the surplus burdensome, or I should say the existing burdensome grain surplus. So question is, could you expedite CRP signups to ensure that acres are enrolled and dedicated to CRP so that they are not cropped in 2020? In other words, if CRP signups cannot be held prior to December 1, what can USDA do to ensure that acres enrolled in CRP after December 1 can actually be placed under contract and the vegetative cover established in 2020?
Senator, we're going to do the very best we can in that. This is several changes in CRP. I'm a sooner rather than later guy, and I've pushed our people as hard as I can. I'd rather give what we expect, not from a sandbag kind of perspective, but what we think is realistic. That's what I've tried to do with all these dates. I understand your concern. The answer to the second part of your question is yes, I think we can do that after the December 1st sign-up. But these are pretty complex kind of changes and issues there, and we're going to expedite as much as possible.
Thank you, and this is personally relevant to you because we want to make sure you have plenty of CRP acres to hunt pheasants on in South Dakota, so that's another reason to get it done.
That's why we're going to expedite.
Could you share with us your plans for ensuring that there are adequate staffing levels in USDA headquarters, IT operations, and state and county offices to ensure timely delivery of Farm Bill and all other programs this year?
Several months ago, we authorized staffing and hiring plans throughout USDA. You probably know the federal government is not the best, easiest place to onboard people regarding all the checks that we have to do. I asked the other day how we were coming, and I didn't get a favorable answer. It was a C grade, and I reminded them that that was not acceptable in our household, and it really wasn't going to be acceptable in the USDA. So we'll continue to make a specific effort to get the appropriate staffing. And if you or any of your members here or throughout Congress hear of specific gaps in your offices around there, I hope you'll let me know specifically where we can address those.
Okay, all right, thank you. Time's expired. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.